Hey there, this is Steve from Nothing Ventured, Nothing Gamed, and here with a game I've been waiting effectively almost a decade for is finally in my possession, and that is Heroscape. Heroscape has it's been around for a long time actually, but for a while it was actually out of print and not available or being made by anybody. A number of years back, right after the Hero Quest, Hasbro has a kind of their own crowdfunding thing. And right after the success of Hero Quest, they soon after did one for Heroscape. And sadly, I'm like, oh man, I finally get to own this game. But sadly, the HasLab crowdfunded campaign for this game was unsuccessful. They asked for a certain number of dollars to get to basically have the project go. We didn't reach that goal, and I'm like, oh, my one chance to own Heroscape has been thrashed. Because when it was available, I was too young and didn't have enough money, because it's not a cheap game. And when I had enough money, it was out of print. So then, out of the blue, I got not just me, a bunch of people got an email from Renegade Game Studios saying this is available for pre-order, and I lost my mind. And I pre-ordered everything, which is the big master set, the smaller two-player, was it War for the Wellspring? Battle for the Wellspring. And also, there's some extra terrain you can get. You don't have, this is actually completely unnecessary. You don't need this. And yeah, I pre-ordered all of it, and I actually pre-ordered the second wave of stuff that is coming. Man, I'm excited, if you can tell. So I have a board set up here, and we'll intersperse me actually putting the board together, and I might talk about the terrain system that they had, the Heroscape has. I always confuse Heroscape and HeroQuest. The Heroscape system has the good, the bad, and the ugly about it. And yeah, we're going to talk about this. Palm trees. So what is Heroscape? Heroscape is a warfare kind of battling game where you assemble your army and you fight your opponent with their assembled army. And these characters characters have abilities. They move around the map. Some of these maps have objectives to win, where one player's objective to win is not the same as another player's. Sometimes they're objective based, sometimes it's just kill all the other person's stuff. And each map or scenario will have rules on how you build your army. Sometimes some of the scenarios will tell you to take these specific units versus this person's these specific units. It'll give you an army list that you have to take. Sometimes they'll just ask you to draft your army. That's the generic way that you're building armies. You basically lay out all the cards and you one by one draft cards. Obviously, if you're playing in Renegade Game Studios is having events at game stores, or they're giving out kits to game stores to have run events. Sadly, I don't know why New York isn't included in this, but there's nothing anywhere near in New York. There's one in Jersey and one in Connecticut. I like Heroscape. I don't like Heroscape that much. Yeah, so they do have events where you can take your own army, so you don't have to bring all of your stuff. You can take your own army to fight other people to win. I believe there's promos to be won and stuff like that, which is cool. I just wish it was in my area. And it's a terrain system, so all these pieces are modular, where you can kind of detach them and make your own boards. You can take these things apart, you put them back together, and they lock into place relatively securely. And there is instructions in the book. If I get back. There we go. Sometimes it's a little fiddly. Each one of these boxes comes with a set of scenario maps, so you don't have to think of up a brand new map for yourself. They are already pre-done maps, and they tell you how to run those maps, or you can just draft a certain amount of points of army. Your opponent drafts the same number of points of army, and you just fight it out to the death. So I'm not going to go through all the little bits in each one of these boxes. I think that would just there's enough information. I actually wanted to talk about this box here, the 2-player version. You hear a lot about this, and I know some people probably talk about the small version, but you hear a lot of information about the big box, so most likely you're going to be able to see information in the minis and all this stuff that comes out of here. But this map was actually made with the stuff from the Wellspring box. This is effectively the 2-player version of this game. You can't play more than 2 players unless well, you technically could. Each person takes 1 person, or 1 person takes 2 little guys. But effectively, this is priced at and designed for only 2 players. This you can play 2 players as well, but you can also play more if people take a little less points. You can have teams where you have 2 people playing a team with 400 points, and you have the other person playing 2 people playing 400-point army. You can definitely get that through here. And there's a lot more terrain that comes in here. But, and I'll say but, this is cool because these trees, as I pull them out here and not break everything, it comes with 2 of these trees, which don't come in this box. You don't get actually any trees in this box. And they come in 2 parts. This is the top and the bottom. And that's a cool little thing. And it causes some blocking line of sight because there is line of sight rules in this. It's kind of like a war game light because obviously this game is very much older than most of your modern war games that are coming out now or came out in relatively recent history. This thing, I believe, started in 2000, early 2000s, maybe late 90s. And then it went out of print in about 2015, 2013, about went out of print. But there was D&D models for this. There was Marvel had a set that came out for this. There was 2 or 3 of these big sets that came out for this game way back in the day. So I'm trying to come at this from my perspective. I've always wanted to own Heroscape, but I never could. So how is it starting from now with nothing before? Because I knew back in the day I had a friend of mine that owned everything, and he had 3 big crates of stuff that he would take into the game store and we would play. It was awesome. We had like 4 or 5 games going on. It was amazing. Like I said, a lot of information about this, not so much about this. So you get 2 things in here that you don't get in this, which is we see these clear water tiles. These are special water tiles. The generic water tiles, these blue tiles, they come in this box. You get about, I think, about 20 hexes worth of blue water tiles in the big set. And you get water tiles in this set. So basically, almost everything you get in here, with the exception of this has walls and little pillars and stuff. You don't get that here, but you do get the trees to kind of make up for it. And you do get many less miniatures in this. You only get, I believe, six miniatures, and I did opt for the painted version because I think it looks prettier, but I also don't have time. I paint enough miniatures for our D&D or our Pathfinder games. I don't have time to paint, 6 and comes in this, and there's 20 minis in that. I don't have time to paint all these minis, so I figured I would just get the painted version and cut them out the middleman. I will say that the painted minis now I don't know what the unpainted minis look like. I haven't looked up online what the unpainted minis of this particular product is. But I have seen the old Heroscape models. And I will say the paint jobs now are better. There were some pretty decent paint jobs back in the day too, and it is a mass-produced product, so how much detail can you really ask for? But the paint jobs in these are pretty good. And there were some egregious face paintings from the older sets. But I used to play D&D minis. It was the same problem. The face is usually pretty horrible when it comes to painted miniatures. But the paint jobs are pretty good. I think I got my money's worth, so I don't have to go ahead and paint them, and I don't have to have unpainted minis on my table. Like I said, it just looks fancy. And you also get a bunch of tokens. I'm not going to show you the tokens. You just get a bunch of wound markers and other tokens and a couple of glyphs that sometimes are put on the battlefield, depending on the scenario. And you do get the minis. I might show some close-up pictures of the miniatures that come in this set. Going back to my point, I was trying to come at this from the era of I never owned Heroscape? Is this really designed for someone like me or someone like you who's never gotten to Heroscape, or either never knew about it and just found out about it recently because there's a lot of hubbub about it, or you knew of it, just could never get your hands on it? For one reason or another, it just always slipped through your grasp and you never got it, but now you have the opportunity. And the question is this really designed for people who already own a lot of Heroscape, or is it designed that people like you and people like me who don't own anything can just get up and go with this? It's a little bit of both, and I'll say that if you're just looking into just getting this box, I have slight disclaimer when it comes to the miniatures in this box. If you're playing, obviously, the full version of the game, you have hero cards that show you all the stats for your character on these cards. And a lot of these cards, now there's a bunch of different factions as you see. I'm not sure how clear this is going to come up, but there are a variety of colors. There's yellow, there's this kind of like this white color, there's purple, red, and there's even more factions than that. There's a blue faction, and you don't have to play one faction, because I don't think there's actually enough in this set for you to only play one faction, except for yellow. If you played yellow, you probably could run one faction, but if you played any of the other colors, yet again, it's if you're playing actual by the rules with your friends at home for fun, you are drafting these, so you don't always land up to the one person always getting the best minis. So you do draft them. So it's designed for you to run multiple minis, and they may not match the faction. That's fine. The factions for some miniatures are designed to work within their own faction. They get some benefit or some boost that let them play a little bit better with each other than some of the other factions. If you start with this set, I've noticed that there is a bunch of characters in this that really need more miniatures in their faction to use all of their abilities. Now, all the abilities are baked into the cost of the miniature. So this guy's 115 points, and they're assuming you're going to use all of the abilities on the card, right? Or at least going to try to. And this guy has 80 points, and he has a bunch of abilities, and, you know, it's designed to use all of their abilities, and that's why he's worth only 85 points. And maybe he has less special abilities. But there's a bunch of things in this box that have special abilities that don't have a companion that they work with. And that's when this box comes in. Some of the people that these people need in this box are in this box. I'm not sure I'm 100% okay with that. That kind of bummed me out a little bit. I mean, I know I got everything, but if the person just said, oh, in the master set, this is all I need. This is all I need. I'm going to grab this. And there's a couple of units that do work together. And there's a couple of units that their ability is nice to have. And I think there's a set of pirates in here that works with one miniature in here. There's one miniature in here that they will work with to get their special ability to activate. But there's like 2 or 3 guys in here that they'll work with. So if you didn't get that one dwarf guy that works with your pirates, those abilities are just, I mean, the game's not over for you. But it sucks that, like, oh man, that one guy. And who knows, someone may have saw that you took the pirate dudes and said, well, I know that they only have that one guy that they can work with in this set. Let me go grab him to make sure you can't use that special ability. Not necessarily the nicest thing to do, but it is a game that you play to win, so it can happen. But when you add this this addendum set here, which is still a fully standalone set, by the way, there are other people that work with it. And there's actually a guy in here that can interact with beasts, small and medium-sized beasts. There are no small and medium-sized beasts in this whole box. There is 2 in this set. So you can use this set and get that ability to activate. Yet again, it's not in this box, it's in this box. So there are some abilities and I think there is even one character in here that has an ability, it's some minor ability, that has an ability that doesn't have a compatriot in either one of these boxes. Now, hopefully they're going to be coming out. They are having a Wave 2 come out, and hopefully someone in that set is coming out. But also, if you owned a lot of the old stuff, you probably have someone that works with that miniature, that unique person. So there is a little bit of that, oh man, if I own a little bit of the older Heroscape, I would be a little bit better off. Luckily with these 2 boxes, you will have for the most part, most what you need to make sure that none of those abilities become useless, except for that one miniature, and it's literally a minor ability. That mini just passes its ability along to another person, but there's no other person that matches the criteria that one requires. So it's a little sad to see that, but there are more miniatures coming out if you're interested, and hopefully, like I said, I don't know which. You can kind of read on the set on the online what they may have done previews, but yeah, I'm digging it. I played a bunch of games with Zach. I played a bunch of games with Jared. I lost some. I won some. The bears are awesome. By the way, if you're getting this and you like Melee, play the bears. The bears just wreck, but they're super melee. Different terrain in here. You get the one thing that this set is missing in the generic terrain is you get the big 21-piece hexes. You only get them in green here, and this one you get green, and you get the stone color, the gray color. The colors don't matter in the sense of gameplay. It matters in the sense of aesthetics of the board. The only other complaint that I have, if you actually look at the rule book here, and you're gonna, like I said, I'm going to talk about this, or I may have already talked about this, and I may cut this part out. But you see, you get a little map. These are the scenario. This is the scenario booklet for this set, this smaller set, and it shows you how to build the maps. So there's 3 different maps in here, and you can run 4 different scenarios for those maps. The last 2 scenarios use the same map with I think a slight addendum. Nope, it's exactly the same. The last 2 scenarios use the same map. The one issue is when they show you the map, and I've noticed this in this box too. They show you and they break the map into levels, because obviously this is modular terrain, so there is going to be height differences, and they're going to be, this is 3 levels high over here. So you do build up the map layer by layer by layer, and it shows you step by step on how to do that. What I've noticed, though, is that they'll tell you, like, to make all the maps in this, you only need this box. To make all the maps in this, you only need this box. There is a scenario available for free on Renegade Game Studios website that actually uses all 3 boxes, which is these 2 boxes and this box, trees and bushes. But that scenario, this isn't for free, but that scenario is available for free, which is a cool thing that I appreciate. But going back to my issue, if you look at this map and you try to build it exactly how they say, with the exact colors that they tell you to build, you're going to find out that you don't have enough pieces, and you're going to worry, like, oh man, did I get shortchanged on pieces? What they did is they made, I'm not sure if this is typos or what have you, I've double, triple, quadruple checked, I have all the pieces. What they do mistake here is they tell you to use pieces that you don't have in the right color. They tell you to use these big 7 hex pieces, but they tell you to use more green ones than you have. But you have enough of these hexes, just not in the right color. So you just use the stone ones in place of the ones that it tells you to use. Like I said, the color of the hexes doesn't affect gameplay, at least in any scenario I've ever played in these 2 boxes. And from what I remember when I'm playing with my buddy, the color of the hexes is just an aesthetic thing. It makes the map look pretty. What matters is the different levels and is it water or not. That's really the 2 things. Is it water, and is it and how high or low is the hex from where you're standing? Because that will matter for gameplay purposes. So I would just like them to come out with a little addendum or something like that, saying, hey, I mean, look, if you have the right number of pieces, just use them. But some people like me are like, wait a minute, did I forget a piece? Did I lose a piece? And I recount, every time it happens, I recount all my pieces just to make sure. And I have all the pieces. The game didn't shortchange me. It's not shortchange you if you picked it up. It's just that the maps are a little bit misleading and they tell you to use the wrong color. So just use whatever you want, really. Because some pieces get completely covered, so the color that they use doesn't really matter. So if I needed an extra green one here instead of this stone one, I technically can take this green one from underneath and swap them because it completely covers that hex. I just think that I like more stone. It does function as the old game functions. So it does function like a game from the early 2000s. But the scenarios add a whole bunch of different rules, like especially in this one, the well springs are special tiles and they do cool things, and everything's in the scenario book and it tells you what to do and kind of how to win. Like I said, sometimes your victory condition is different than your opponent's victory condition. There's sometimes that is a scenario-based or objective victory condition where you have to capture the middle and be the last person on there after a certain turn, and the first person to do that by themselves and have only their units on top will win the match. Other times it's just go kill all their stuff and then you win, and make sure all your stuff doesn't die in the process. There are rules and there are round limits. If you look at any particular scenario, in the scenario book, you're actually going to have this out. Number one, it has the rules on it for that particular scenario, but it has a number of rounds. So in this one, it only has 5 rounds of gameplay, and after 5 rounds, it tells you, after 5 rounds, if no one has won, who wins. Sometimes it's based on points. They have each, obviously, how you score points is how many units either you have left alive or how many units you've killed on the opponent's side. And so yeah, and it's a lot of dice rolling and just, it's just fun. It's just a fun game where you just pick up your units, blow up stuff, capture objectives if it's one of those objective capture missions. But I really do like Heroscape, especially, which I'm thinking about doing. I'm thinking about using this terrain for either D&D or Kill Team or any of those other games because, well, I have a lot of terrain. I would say my one last con, and it's not something you think about when well, those avid board game collectors think about this after their collection gets to a certain size. But one thing that people don't consider, especially when they're buying a lot of something, let's say if you want to buy Heroscape and then maybe they come out with another master set, maybe they come out with another couple of these sets. Space. The game's not actually in here right now. It's actually over to the side there. But this takes up a lot of space. And also, building those maps takes a while. And if you want to set this up ahead of time, that's a lot of table space that it's going to take up. These are big space hogs. Like I said, back in my friend, when he had it, I had to help him carry the stuff into the game store with 3 big cardboard boxes because it was just that much stuff. So it is something to think about. Do you have space for this? Does your table have space to run the game? And do you have enough people to play? Because if you don't have enough people to play, there's no solo variant of this. But this is my opinion on Heroscape. I think it's a good pull for the most part. It has its problems, but some of these problems Heroscape has since it came out. It takes up a lot of space. It is you got a lot of stuff to keep after, and it is using rules that is compatible with the old version of the game, so it may feel old to play because it's just the fact that they wanted to make it compatible with the old game, and that they didn't want to screw over all the people who have had all the old stuff. They didn't want to make this not work with that. So I think that Heroscape is a great pickup if you know people who are willing or want to play and you have enough space to house it. And it is on the more expensive era of games because it is a lot. You get a lot of stuff. But if you can use the terrain for other things, I definitely think it's a solid pickup. And yeah, I also do like the fact that this comes with different terrain than this. This has more terrain and more minis, but this is really designed for 2 players. But you do get the cool trees and you get the fancy water, as well as all the other bits and bobs that it comes with. But that's just my opinion. Sound off down in the comments below if you have played some of the old Heroscape or you can't wait to get your hands on the new stuff. But until then, this is Steve from Nothing Ventured, Nothing Gamed. May your die rolls be crits, and may you always roll max damage. See you later.